Thanks for joining me. I always appreciate the comments and the encouragement you have given. And this week, I want us to explore the untold story about privilege and inclusion. Somewhere in the world, a child was just born, and let me say, in absolute poverty. Somewhere in the world, people have no homes because of wars or geopolitical crisis. In another place, a child has no formal identification at birth because that child has no birth certificate. But in another place, a child was born today who will inherit a future of fortune. Somewhere in that same space, a child will inherit a code that is ascribed to them at birth that will create a pathway to access to services and to all the things they need for their success, and access will be given. This access will lead the child into adulthood to inherit a pathway to have excellent connections, improve health outcomes, and better pension years based on their salaries assigned to them at their starting point of their career. The mechanism behind these limitations or affordances can be found in the concept of privilege. So you may ask me, what is privilege? I wondered about what is privilege, and I can assure you that privilege has something to do with the rights, the immunity or benefits that one person or a group of people will have, and that will allow them to access services and so forth. In summary, privilege is a connection to an unearned advantage over others. Privilege can be connected to race, gender, religion, place of birth, access to education, and so many other areas. It's too comprehensive to outline in this presentation. In summary, when this unearned privilege is in operation, it means the users of this privilege will be given access to participate and be included in groups within our society. And those who have no access will be exempt. For many people, accepting and recognizing one's privilege is very difficult. However, as you consider your privilege, you must consider that, guess what, with your privilege, there's going to be the oppression of others. For example, someone who is white is less likely to be searched at an airport, while black people have a higher rate or chance of being selected for screening. And I can personally make a connection to that. I remembered when I was on my way back to England from Jamaica, at the airport in Jamaica, most of the black passengers going on to the British airline at that point in time were being searched, while the other white passengers were allowed to move on without any delay. I had to remind my countryman, he was a police officer, that it was okay for him to search white passengers too, because somewhere in that space I was not privileged to be able to walk through the system. Now I want us to go a bit deeper into the concept of privilege. I want us to use the reflective exercise that many will talk about, the privilege walk, which has connections to Peggy McIntosh's work on white privilege. The activity has become a benchmark for issues relating to privilege, especially in diversity classes or seminar sessions. In this activity, everyone is required to stand in a horizontal line with their eyes closed. The activity aims to increase awareness on various forms of privilege. I also consider this an excellent starting point for reflection as it relates to privilege. The action requires participants to respond to multiple prompts. For example, the facilitator may ask participants to respond to the following prompts. If one or both of your parents graduated from college, take one step forward. Another prompt is, if you feel confident that you will not be followed, harassed, or watched under close surveillance while shopping, take one step forward. Another one of the prompts could be, if you have been mistreated or served less fairly in a place of business because of your race, ethnicity, take one step back. And the final one that I'll give as an example, it says, if anyone in your immediate family has ever been addicted to drugs or alcohol, take one step back. At the end of responding to over 20 prompts, participants open their eyes to realize their position in the room. They are then asked a series of questions as it relates to what factors has caused them to be in such a position in the line. On reflection, this is a wonderful activity to start. I've posted an example that you could use if you're interested in looking at this further in the description section. However, my question is, what happens after the training is done? That's another issue. Furthermore, it is my belief that you cannot have a change in behavior without critical reflection, and many times these training programs miss that section out. For behavioral change, there must be consistent work. So let's get down to the reality of what is happening. Who is really willing to give up privilege? Are you? And who is willing to give up the privilege associated with a better life outcome and increased pension in later life? When it is all said and done, not many people are willing to give up privilege. Hence, we continue to have oppressive and exclusionary practices in our society. So we must keep it real. You may ask, what are the solutions? And I would say, we have been smart enough to go to the moon and Mars. We have created systems and research to solve various problems in our society. Some of the most challenging issues have been solved. Yet, we cannot address the issue of inclusion based on privilege. This really gets me. But we can reduce it. It cannot be solved overnight. But we certainly can try to employ equity matrix that will provide additional support for those who are at a disadvantage. We should also advocate for the dismantling of systems, policies, social norms that have been used to produce inequality. In addition, the onus for change cannot be on those alone who are oppressed and disenfranchised to make the change, but those who continue to benefit from the undeserved benefits. Yes, those undeserved benefits that are derived from the color of his skin and other issues. Now, that's a lot. But thanks for listening, and I just want to keep it real. Are you willing to give up your privilege at this point in time? If not, what can we do to ensure there's equity in the system? Thanks, and that's all for now.